and we'll say this is a meeting of the Plainfield Planning Commission on September 1st, 2025. And as usual, we'll start the meeting with a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Yep, motion to approve the minutes.
And a second.
I'll second.
Okay, and then any discussion of the minutes?
Good job.
Yeah. Which one, the AI or me?
Well, I didn't read the AI one, but
Okay.
did you start with the AI and then edit it? Or did
No,
you
I just
you
sort of
wrote
did
up?
it to sort of see what it was like. I didn't like it that much.
Right.
I wasn't able to, I'm addicted to my tablet and I wasn't able to see it on the tablet. I would have had to go up to my desktop computer, so I never,
Okay.
I could, yeah.
I, I, I w- I was generally flabbergasted at how fast the AI summary came back
Yeah.
in 3 seconds
Yeah.
from an hour
Flabbergasted,
long YouTube video.
yeah. Flabbergasted is a nice way to say kind of scary.
Right. Well, I asked my son who is in this field, and what they do is they take little bites of that YouTube video. The processors are sequential, and they can take little bites and do a little bite all at the same time. So they could do 10,000 little samples of that YouTube video, and then stitch them together. It's very easy to interpret the language and spit out the summary. That's the easy part. The hard part, the surprising part for me was how quick it was able to extract it from a video that it was seen instantly. But because they broke it up into so many little pieces in parallel processing by these graphic chips, boom, easy, no problem.
Yeah.
Live and learn.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll probably give it another try just for fun. Maybe start with that. We'll see. Because I know Bram uses it for the select board meeting, a different program, different AI interpreting. So anyway, with that discussion done, all those in favor for the motion to pass the minutes?
Aye.
Right? Okay, that's done. And like I said, Karen is coming back from Canada and won't make it, so I don't think we want to talk about the permit application. And I think we've got to the point where we need her input on the subdivision changes that we've had, because she hasn't made that last meeting where we talked about having some kind of minor subdivision application that was a little more than the exempt, but a little less than the full-blown major subdivision. And the question is, how many of those are there in town? How many 3-lot subdivisions that are complicated that she could sort of do administratively and present it to the DRB and say, this is a really simple subdivision. It's the same way a single lot subdivision is exempt. We had that it applied to when you do you separate 2 lots and you have a 3-lot subdivision, you do the minor application. But that was still, is there a way to make that easy? Because sort of what we're striving for is simplicity and clarity for the users, the DRB, and still meet the goals of the town. And I'd really like to have her input on that.
And Will, can you just remind us in the current subdivision, what is in the current zoning where we still have minor and major.
Yes.
We're proposing amendments that would basically get rid of the minor major distinction, but do we have something in the amendment to preserve the single lot?
Yes, the exempt subdivision is still there.
What is the process for the exempt subdivision?
It's administrative process because you take
for the DRB, Karen just signs off on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have 10 acres and you want to sell 2, and it meets all the requirements of the zoning.
Yeah.
All the lot size, everything takes place. So it meets all the requirements of the existing zone that the subdivision is taken in. So it meets the village. Well, the village, if it's a if you wanted to subdivide a tenth of an acre, you would have
Yeah.
to do the under the new
Yeah. Yeah.
the stuff that got passed, the amendments that got passed in July. You'd have to go to the DRB. But if
And
you were
you,
going to separate,
what you're proposing is that the bar is moved from the exempt status is not just for one lot being turned into two, but it's one lot being turned into three.
yes, which is two lots, separating two lots, keeping the
Okay.
original, and
Yeah.
and Karen would know how, that's never happened, happens all the time. It would be a mess to try to administer it. Her thoughts are more important than our speculation.
Yeah. I think so too. It's impossible for me to really think that hard about it with someone not, without someone who has a lot of experience.
Yeah,
The other factor would be how much trouble is it really for the DRB? In other words,
right.
you know, if it's
Yeah.
if it's more or less like not going to be a huge hassle to for for a two lot, the terminology is weird, for a
Yeah,
three lot subdivision to be a conditional use, then it doesn't strike me as being terribly important.
right,
Because
right. That could be.
it would be yeah.
She would know that better than us. We
Yeah.
should defer to her expertise and experience. Hey, Charlie,
Yeah.
could you either turn down the whatever radio is in the
Oh,
background or mute yourself?
sorry.
It's sort of
Sorry,
bleeding
I'm
in.
half deaf, so I don't realize I'm a disturbance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So those are the things that we had on the agenda, and I was hoping Karen could make it, but she's not, so we may have to put that off.
Yeah.
So we may just turn. I have a question. I read your letter to the select board, David.
Yeah.
Have you heard back?
Um, I heard back from Peter Youngbear, and we had a bit of a back and forth, pleasant back and forth. We know each other, and his first take was, well, that's not going to happen because
The vote.
a vote is not going to happen because it's not required, and it could be can it could, if we tried to do it, it could, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns could make a fuss, or somebody would make a fuss. We talked about it a little more, and because I didn't entirely accept that, and at the end he said, well, my point was, if the select board wanted to figure out a way to have a vote, there's a way to have a vote, whether it's binding, not binding, whether it's, you know, uh, exactly how it's worded, that kind of thing. And at the end, he seemed to kind of accept that, but certainly didn't make any commitment or anything like that. He said, well, maybe that's right, but it's going to take a lot of thought to figure out how to do it. So
Did you mention you could probably get enough signatures to force a vote?
um, there may be some discussion about that. Not with Peter, though. I didn't talk to
Right.
Peter. But,
Well,
I just, my motivation is that I talk to people who feel really disenfranchised. And I want to, I don't have any predictions about a vote or anything like that. But I think somehow, my personal opinion is the broader population of Plainfield should have a chance to weigh in some way that's easy and um, accessible in different ways and like that. So we'll see.
The the revote for the plant for the zoning.
Yeah,
You know, the woman who did that, Alana Elena Norway.
right.
I had long conversations with her, and her point was basically your point, that people felt like well, because of the way it was warned, it was very publicized. They felt like there wasn't enough public input at the town meeting vote because of the way it was stuck in with other stuff. So, I mean, that was a legitimate concern. That
Yeah.
if people don't feel like they have enough input, then they, like you say, they feel disenfranchised.
And I think a lot of us, I mean, myself and other people I don't feel like the town meeting vote in any way was a vote to proceed with the project. It was explicitly a vote to proceed with investigating the project,
Right, right.
not, not to buy the property, et cetera, et cetera. And, the select board has signed a purchase and sales for the property. So
Well, is the purchase and sales agreement public? I don't know if it is.
it is to the best of my knowledge, it has not been made public that the actual document has not been made public, but the select board voted unanimously to approve and gave Carl the authorization to sign it.
Right,
So, and that was a week ago, so
right,
I wouldn't be surprised that it's been done.
right. My, I heard Peter's description of it too, and it sounded like the purchase and sales agreement was contingent on getting enough grant funding to backstop the purchase. So the purchase doesn't happen without the grant funding. So the
Correct.
town isn't at risk because the original proposal was the town was going to backstop the project.
Right.
And there was legitimate concern from a budgetary standpoint that the town could, you know, I mean, at a certain point, the East Village expansion say, well, we won't have any trouble selling the lots.
Right.
So the town's not at risk. But that's,
There's also on the table, but I don't know the details of this, but again, I haven't seen the minutes from the latest East Hill meeting, but I have been informed that what is Commerce, whoever it is that reviews the grant applications,
yes,
that they reviewed the preliminary application, and what they said was, and don't don't hold me to this is exactly right, but this is
okay,
how I understand it.
yeah,
They said that the grant money can be used to buy the property, but the sales of the improved property, there's restrictions on the sales. And it may even be as restricted that they have to be given away. So that would mean it would raise no more money, or possibly this. Again, I don't have the exact details. So there's already and that doesn't work within the framework of how the project is being viewed. We don't know exactly what the finances are. We've not seen a real spreadsheet or anything like that, so we don't know. But the there so there is already a proposal for the town to borrow the money from Vermont Community Loan Fund to buy the property, to make a $600,000 loan and spend $575,000 of it on the property. So that's kind of as much as I know about that, but that kind of changes that that's evidently on the table, and it's support an important part of how they want to put the project together. So that's a consideration too. So
Right,
it's a,
yeah. I guess I thought the purchase and sales agreement that the select board signed was written in such a way that the town wouldn't be, would cover the expense of the property purchase by the grant.
no, that I don't think that's right. I think
Okay,
I don't know. Again, we've not
we
seen.
we don't know.
I would like to see it. There's a whole bunch of documents I'd like to see,
Right.
but that we don't know. So I think what I do know, I think, again, it's kind of a little bit hearsay. So
Mm.
that there is on the table an offer for the town to borrow the money from the Vermont Community Loan Fund so that there wouldn't be restrictions on the sale of the lots. And part of that, I think part of the worry about the restrictions is that um, I think part of the plan is for there to be some number, I've heard the number 12, of very expensive lots in order to help finance less expensive lots. So I don't know. We'll see. Um,
Yeah,
I,
well,
I very much hope there will be some kind of vote. I don't know what it would be. I don't know how it would go. It's uh, I think it would, I think the community is really divided um, and I don't think the town meeting vote was in any way a real representation of people's willingness to actually go ahead with the project. So it's an attempt to be sure that a majority of the town has that willingness. Um,
yeah, the problem with the vote is we still don't know what we're voting on because we don't know what it it's happening yet.
this is true, but on the other hand, this grant application is advancing. It's, another month that's going to be in, and that's in, you know, it, in a way, the grant application in itself is a commitment to go ahead with the project. Because what's
Well,
going to happen? Grant comes through, are people then going to say no?
I don't know. I mean, you don't need to do the grant, but you don't have a without the grant, there's too much speculation. There's too much risk to the town.
I agree, but what I'm saying is that if the grant application is put in, which it's very likely it will be, and the town has not had a chance to, and when I say the town, I mean, the voters have
Mhm.
not had a chance to weigh in some clear way about the actual project happening and potentially some liability to the town. And then the grant goes through. There will have never been, it's not like and I'm speculating again, but it's not like then the select board is going to say, oh, we just got $8.2 million, but we're not going to use it. You get
Well,
what I'm saying?
if the town voted that they don't want the project, even if it's fully funded, because
I think there needs to be a vote as soon as there can be one.
I think you got to have like 30 days. It's not the grant's going to go in.
I'm aware. I don't feel great about that. I think you're right, though. Probably it's
Well,
likely.
to warn an Australian ballot. I mean, I think you need 30 days.
Yeah, I don't know. Charlie probably knows. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It's uh I want people, I mean, I've talked about what I think, but I think there's a lot of people out there that have not been able to
Have to say.
express their feelings and about it, and just in general, they feel, someone said to me, David, it's not my town anymore. And I was coming from someone whose family has been here for, I don't know how many generations, many generations. And for me, it makes me feel pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, the flip side is it's hard to vote on something that's nebulous. And
I agree. But
it's
we'll see how nebulous it is, because there is this $600,000 loan in the air.
yeah,
I don't know the details. I only know that it has been, I think I can say it's been proposed, but I don't know. I don't know when. We'll find out when the minutes of the last East Hill, the expansion committee, when those are posted, I think we'll see exactly the right wording of what's happening there. But
right.
I know that the select board has been informed that they're going to be asked to borrow $600,000, and my impression is fairly soon. Fairly that the bar that the request will be that it happens fairly soon. But again, I'm speculating. I'm
Right.
not speculating that they know about it, because Peter told me they did, but
Oh, okay. Well, it'll be it's
the
some
other thing, just to tell you, again, somewhat speculatively, the other thing that Commerce, I think it's Department of Commerce and whoever administers the loan,
Yep.
the block grant loans, said that the town cannot in any way prioritize any buyers.
Right.
So the flood victims, even
Yeah.
plain residents, cannot be prioritized.
Yeah, that would make
And
sense because it's a state loan.
yeah,
Yeah.
so and that's a kind of a fundamental, was one of the fundamental goals of the project. So I'm
Certainly
sure
as
there's going to be an attempt to circumvent that, but I'm not sure what it would be.
well if they if they get the loan from that organization, they can't you know
Yeah, that's going to be the first order
yeah.
of how to circumvent it. Yeah.
Well, related to this, I got a message from the East Village Expansion Committee saying they would like a letter from the Planning Commission saying that the project complies with, is in compliance or in the spirit of the town plan. So I think we can say that in the sense that it concentrates housing in or near the village.
Uh, I need to see what the plan is. There's all kinds of things in the town plan. And yes, what you said is correct, but there's other elements of the town plan. For example, what about, respecting the wetlands? What about the stormwater? These
Oh,
are things that we've heard about, but we've not seen a plan for.
they have, well, I mean, the letter, I'll send you a copy of the letter. I haven't
Okay.
written it yet. I just got the request. And I mean, we can say that the town plan likes to see concentrated growth in or near the village with respect to the wetlands, open land, the rural character, all that stuff. That's, it's a town plans are pretty wishy-washy, but this, the proposals that I've seen where they, because it's a PUD, you have to leave, a certain amount of land open to get the density that is desired, and you have to meet wetland requirements, and it's going to be all on town sewer. That's
But that's
really,
all negotiate as I understand it. Again, I've not seen a plan. I've seen and I've followed this pretty closely.
yep,
Not behind the scenes, but in terms of what's been presented. And to what I see is that how much of the wetlands is going to be the wetlands, not the property, but the wetlands. Well, no, the property too. How much of it is going to be used is in negotiation. They're going to ask the state to approve making I'm going to keep giving caveats because it's not like I know all these regulations or anything like that. Julie knows some, so we talk about it, but I don't know them all by any stretch. But my understanding is they're wanting to make a trade that using to use some of the wetlands for building purposes. I don't know. I think it's for actual building, but may also be for roads, etc., in return for, quote, improvement of other parts of the wetland. And that is from the people who I've talked to who are knowledgeable about this kind of thing, that's a very dubious plan. So I can say that I'm happy for you to send me a letter, and I may not be in
You're
sync
free
with
to edit
everybody.
it.
Yeah, well, I may not be in sync with everybody, and
Yep.
that when the chips will fall where they may. But um, I I'm pretty exacting in the way I look at things, and I it will be hard for me to say yes, it complies with the town plan unless I know what that plan is and can also look very carefully at the town plan to see what I think.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, as we as we know,
the,
the East Village expansion plan is still in flux.
yeah, well,
So
it,
I mean the
but
letter, yeah,
in my mind, that would mean that we can't say, yes, it complies with the town plan if we don't know what the plan is. At least that's my my snap judgment. I have to read your letter to see how many
yeah.
caveats
Well,
are there.
I think I'll put it together in such a way that it says this is what the town plans, and if the East Village, you know,
There's stuff in the town plan about, traffic and, all of that stuff.
yeah.
And I've not, I know there was some kind of traffic study, but I've never seen that traffic study. I've heard anecdotal reports of what it said, which didn't jive with my um, sense of reality. But all of that stuff to me is a way in which the town, I don't like to blame any individuals, but I feel like, there's so many things that have been anecdotal. Oh, there's a traffic study. It says everything's okay.
Right.
It doesn't work for me.
Well, it's very much the thing is it's a plan and it's a project very much in progress. It's not nailed down yet. Um, so the letter can say these are the requirements of the town plan, and the grant is just to finance a project that should meet all these goals. But like you say, it's not in detail yet.
Right.
I guess the way that I think about it is there's a distinction between whether any of the details of the plan could come up against requirements of zoning regulations or for that matter, the town plan. And that's when you get to the permitting level. I think what we're talking about from my point of view is we know what the broad stroke of this project is, that it's to do a multi-unit development on a certain plot of land in a certain proximity to the village in the in the village zoning. And I think that from the standpoint of the town plan, there is a lot of language about that. If down the road the specific plan violates wetland concerns, violates traffic issues, that all gets looked at as part of the subdivision
Right.
process
But those are
that
all
goes
part of
before
the
the
town
zoning.
plan. So it doesn't, for me, and I'm at peace with being a minority if it happens, but for me, it doesn't work. I mean, it's possible that it would work for me to say, well, it might comply with the town plan, or it complies with this one section out of 20 that are in the town plan, but we don't know about the rest, so we can't comment on those. That's in all likelihood, that's as far as I would be able to go, and that might even be a stretch until I see exactly what the wording is. Because
Well,
it just, it's what we it, there's a town plan. It's however many pages it is. It's a lot, and there's this project, and even if I supported the project, part of what I don't support is this kind of thing. Is the town and residents of the town being kind of pushed ahead to do something that's not fully formulated. And I get it, it's super complicated, so it's almost impossible to get all that information. But that's what happens when you do a project like this. If it was a developer doing it and it wasn't a town project, if it was a nonprofit housing place doing it, all of that, this 90% of what it, I'm just saying that, but some high percentage of all of these complications wouldn't be there. And I think it is a lot to ask the residents of the town to push ahead on something that they don't have full information about, and to make commitments. And to me, even a letter or my name on a letter saying, yes, this complies or might comply with the town plan, and feeling okay about doing that. I'm sorry I'm talking so much. Feeling okay about doing that is, it doesn't work for me. I'm not, if I'm planning to build a house for somebody, I don't tell them how much it costs until I know what it is they want to build. And this whole thing has been like that. It's been, oh, it's going to cost $2.5 million and we should vote on it right now. And then 2 weeks later, it's going to cost $5 million. And now the grant is for $8 million. And that it just is, it's a tough thing for people to swallow.
well, going back to the
But
letter.
about it. Sorry.
No, but let's pretend the towns, all this stuff is beyond, has sort of doesn't exist, and a project has come to the planning commission and said we want to build 40 houses that are on the wastewater system. We want to put it on this piece of property. We're going to leave a lot of that property open. But we don't know what we're going to do about it yet. We have all these details we need to work out. And would that be good for the town? So forget about all the other stuff.
Sorry, but it doesn't work for me. You have to know the other stuff.
Well,
Look, if there's if the end result is flooding in the village is worse than it was before because the meadow, because of the increased stormwater draining down into the village, I can't say yes, I'm all for 40 units unless I know that it's going to be done, and I don't know that.
Well, I think going back to Jesse's point is that there's a 35,000 foot level, which is saying, if we want to put houses in, we want to have more houses, we want to replace some housing that is lost. The best place to do that is utilizing the wastewater system in the town, which is underutilized now. The town plan says the best place to put housing in general is in and near the village center. And this project is going to do that. And if it does that, any project
that's one thing of
right,
many
right.
that have to, so I'm,
But I guess the point is there's a difference between somehow handing over a blank check to a committee to just invent a plan and saying this layer of the project, this broad stroke picture, the intention of the project is consistent with a strong like piece of the housing section specifically of the town plan. There's a chapter on housing, and it's very focused on development in the high density areas. And I think to say it is the spirit of the project is inconsistent with that is something the planning commission can do. We kind of talk on that level. We're not the people that issue permits. We're not signing off on, we're not creating an inevitability or giving someone permission to violate other things that are very clearly stated.
I mean, for me, I'm not going to say that you're entirely wrong. I'm going to say I need to see the wording and I need to then compare it to the town plan. Because, I'm not convinced that 40 units in that location, whether it's in the village district or not, is a reasonable thing to do. It may comply with, yes, we need more housing in the village, but I think it's an open question whether we need 40 lots and 60 units in the village. That's far beyond the flood. And I think it is, as a town project, for me, it's been approached in an entirely backwards way. I think there should have been an examination from the beginning of what's the best way to do this. Not, and we're getting into the depth of it here, but, I don't want my planning commission participation to be wholly based on this project. It's not. It's based on what I think is best for the town for the next however many years. I personally believe there would have been way better ways to replace the housing lost in the flood. I think there are ongoing things that may be way better ways to replace the housing lost in the flood without having to worry about wetlands, without having to worry about nearly as much about money and traffic, et cetera, et cetera. And that has, none of that even factors in Goddard, which is a whole nother thing that's going on. It's okay. We have a different view of our image of what we want the town to be. And I'm at peace with that. I'm not saying I'm right, you're wrong. Some people want growth, some people don't want that much growth. My biggest point is, my 2 points are the voters of the town need to have a say. And for me personally, I'm not going to sign on to something unless I can see it and I can compare it with other, with the town plan, and if I have some sense of the other factors. Because if my sense now, an uneducated sense, is that it will not comply with the wording in the town plan about traffic. For me, there's almost already too much traffic. There's certainly too much traffic on East Hill, for my taste. And
Well, and everybody else on East Hill too.
yeah, well, that's not gonna, it's yours. Yeah, I mean, yes. So, that part, all of that is, so we can see one thing that maybe complies with the town plan in terms of density, and it's acceptable. It does meet the requirements as we understand them now, as long as it's a PUD. But in my speculation is that it doesn't meet some of the other things, or it certainly hasn't been proven to meet some of the other things. So do we say that too? Do we say, well, yeah, it'd be nice to build more houses in the village, but we're not sure about the traffic? We couldn't, that wouldn't be a reasonable thing to say. So,
I don't
you
think,
know,
I don't
I
think
just
it,
don't see
I
how
don't
we
think it
can
would
say
be
anything.
necessary at this
What?
point. I don't think it would be necessary to go into that level of detail.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do.
This is only
That's
going to
the
be
way
two. This letter is only going to be two paragraphs.
I'm a detail-oriented person. I can't put those things aside and say one thing is all right when I have a pretty good sense that some of the other things aren't. Man, and again, I don't want to be, you know, too combative.
I mean,
I
I think
enjoy
that
doing this and all of that, but
I would recommend at the least reading the housing section of the town
yeah,
plan
I
and
will.
seeing
No,
how
I'll
you
read the
feel
whole thing.
that it does or doesn't,
Yeah,
how it is and isn't consistent with this project.
yeah.
Because I think that speaks to a lot of these questions. Um, and there are things about it that feel like they're bigger picture, and there are things about it that feel like details. And I think there's a real distinction there.
A lot of people don't agree with that. A lot of people think that the importance of the wetlands is just as important as the housing.
Yeah.
And that the threat of messing with the wetlands is just as important as the housing. And that the keeping Main Street from becoming a crazy thoroughfare at various times of the day is just as important as the housing. And I'm not talking about the flood replacement housing. That's kind of a wholly different issue to me.
Yeah.
This is it to me, this project is not about flood, reparations from the flood anymore. I don't, it's about the village. And you certainly have a right to have an opinion. You live in the village. I'm not,
I live right across the street from it.
right. No, no. Uh, uh, as I've said, honestly, none of this affects me particularly. I live up on the hill, a different hill. We'll get more traffic if the village gets more busy, but and I'm old. So but I I have nice relationships with working people of this town, some of them from my business and having lived here a long time, and a lot of them are really upset. And I admittedly not just this project. They just feel very disenfranchised, and this project is part of that. And I that makes me feel bad. And maybe I'll end up feeling bad for you because you don't get what you want. But
I'm not.
I
Yeah.
I don't know what you think I want, but
well, no, well,
It might not
so,
be all those houses across the street.
and your businesses and all those things.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm saying that I would also feel I'm not I don't
you don't like
I
the
don't
village to have
I
more
don't
businesses.
discount that other people don't agree with me on this. I'm prepared to lose a vote and not feel bad about it, or but I also feel like I'm not gonna become part of something that I'm not gonna put aside my reservations in order to sign on to a letter that doesn't reflect what I think.
Fair enough. Well, I'll write the letter. It'll be pretty general. It can't be too long. None of these grant writers want to read anything that's too long. So, I mean, it would just say that, that like Jesse said, housing close to the village, and the details have to meet the state requirements. It's really hard to do anything without going through a lot of hoops, and one of them will be the DRB, and one of them will be all the state wetland. You have to get all those approvals, That's one reason nobody builds any houses anymore.
Right. That's, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, well, I don't know, I'm not sure if that's right. People
Well,
still,
yeah, but it's harder to build housing than it was 40 years ago. Okay, well, that was a nice conversation. Appreciate the viewpoints. Let me know if what Peter, if you have any more conversations with Peter.
yeah,
Because I think, like I say, there's a time constraint on holding the vote, and
yeah,
it you know, the select board is really doesn't like to hold votes outside normal polling times.
I
And
know.
and
Do
so,
much does it cost to hold an Australian ballot vote?
oh, I think it's $500, something like
Okay.
that. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's,
uh yeah, it's not super expensive compared to like some of the gravel they put down or the grading the East Hill, but it takes a lot of the staff time to set up and do all that. It's as much that as the dollar expense.
yeah,
But I isn't there is there are there going to be any elections this November? Are there any ballot items? I don't know.
I don't know. If I had my druthers, it would not be combined with another election, but that I I
That
clearly may not have
yeah.
my
Well, you
druthers.
know, if you have enough energy and you think there's enough thing, you can require the town to have the vote with the 74 signatures.
Well, you never know.
Yeah. Yep. I mean that's how Elena got it. She got the signatures in 2 days.
Yeah,
It didn't take long.
right, right. Well, when there were, yeah, it was not hard to get signatures when a group presented a petition to the select board about the formation of the committee. I don't know if you followed that, but there was
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that vote wasn't that part of town meeting?
no,
Okay.
no. When the select board formed the new committee
Yep.
that actually formed it, named it, appointed the people on it. There were the old committee made a group of recommendations about how to do it, and another group of people made different recommendations about how to do it, and got filed it as a petition, gave it to the select board, and I think there was like, and it was only like 24 hours of getting names, and there was, I think it ended up being 70 people signed it or something like that.
But did they
Um,
have an Australian ballot on that?
Yeah, no,
Oh,
no, no, it
yeah.
wasn't. I mean, petition may not be the right word.
Okay.
It was a proposal for how to go about forming the committee, what the parameters of the committee would be, and who would
Right.
serve.
Okay. Yeah.
And
It's when you
signed by, was supported by I th- somewhere between 60 and 70 signers, which were collected over a very short period of time.
right. It's the Australian ballot that you have to meet so many requirements and stuff that, maybe you could convince Peter to have a special meeting where they have, it's the open meeting discussion on the plan, but that still is not the same as an Australian ballot in terms of voter outreach.
There's going to be a hearing about the grant proposal, and that may, on the 22nd, and
Okay.
that public hearing, it'll be warned, the whole thing, and people can submit written material to it, and that's something, but a hearing is different from a official Australian ballot, so in
Yep.
terms of participation, it's always going to be different.
Right.
So
The people who are disenfranchised don't show up at the hearing and don't show up at the Zoom hearing. That's
that's one of our problems for sure.
yeah. Yeah, and that was the issue with the amend, the zoning revision at town
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah,
And part of it is that we didn't Well, for the revote, we tried to do a lot of outreach.
I
And
don't
even
think
that,
people felt that strongly about the zoning revisions myself. People I
yeah,
talked,
it,
because
it,
I supported them and I talked to people and so there was a couple of people I talked to who said, no, for various reasons would not support them, but uh,
zoning regulations are pretty downright boring.
right, it wasn't nearly as controversial as this project as a
Yes,
whole.
right. Okay, well, we'll certainly see how it goes. I'll try to write that letter tomorrow and send it out. And certainly you don't need to, if you say you don't want to support it, that's fine.
Yeah,
But it'll be so general that it'll be hard to, it's basically just saying this is what the town likes to see, and this project has the potential to do that, is the way I would put it.
yeah,
And
maybe.
like Jesse said, the details are going to get ground out in a meat grinder over time.
Yeah, yeah, or maybe I'll edit it
Sure,
and see where that
feel
leads
free.
us.
It'll be a Word document.
Going back to our original agenda,
Yes,
I I I thought it would be worth it to just review maybe at the next meeting or something, kind of all of the just separate from looking at the whole document, just to review the changes that we've kind of discussed and where we stand on them and what we've reached agreement on. And that, I know we've been kind of doing it all along, but it would be useful to have it all on one page, I think, for me. And I'd be willing to do that if if people think that makes sense.
do you want to just list out the changes that we made from the Word document with the crossouts and deletions and additions?
Yeah, I just want to, I think you did it with the zoning changes. This is for our purposes.
Yeah, right.
Say, yes, we have agreement on this definition for applicant or definition for person, or, when uh, uh, that we're eliminating the um, preliminary plat, but we're turning the um, uh, sketch plan into a real hearing rather than just a
Sure.
meeting and all that stuff. We've talked
Yeah,
about quite a few different things.
right, right. We haven't got it into a cohesive package yet.
Right.
Right.
So does that make sense to try
Sure.
to,
Absolutely. Well, we got to do that. We got to do that at some point.
is it okay for me to do that and
Sure.
get around and then,
Absolutely.
then we can be sure we are all in agreement and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
do
That'd be great.
it, I hope.
Okay. Well, I didn't have anything else. I think we went through a lot of stuff. It was interesting, and I'll send out that letter tomorrow. And the NDA application for Goddard to make the boundary the property is going to go in. I think it's submitted next week, and there'll be that board, the downtown board will hear it somewhere in first couple weeks of September, and hopefully that gets done. So Goddard is one place. I got a drawing where all they actually did surveys of where all the manholes are on the property. So I can send that out to you. Just as sort of a piece of information where it
That
goes. I
sounds
didn't
good.
know there was a pump station past the library, but I guess they got to pump Northfield over the hill to get, which it makes sense. It's really a little downhill, so they got to pump it over. I wonder how many times they replace that. I mean, it was built in the 70s or late 60s. So it's relatively old infrastructure.
Wow.
Okay,
It's,
Charlie, did you have anything to add before we adjourn?
No, I didn't. I was mildly interested in the amendment, the second round of amendments, and whether various things like setbacks on shared walls and 30% maximum small lots and all those types of changes to the second round of amendments are still in play.
The first round of amendments were adopted in July.
Yeah,
They were adopted, and then
yeah,
the second round of amendments, yes, they're still in play. That's what we were kind of
okay.
discussing. And it's specifically on the subdivision sections. So, um, I'll continue. If you're still interested, I'll remember to send you the invitation.
Yeah, the thing is, I heard again, probably hearsay and whatever, that a lot of the initiative for some of these things was specifically brought forth by the EVAC committee to grease the skids on the development. Maybe not all. And just in general, in principle, I think that is not something that you should follow.
Well, here's the corollary to that, in that there's never been a big subdivision project like this in Plainfield. So you
So
have,
don't don't change the regs before the
oh yeah,
issue comes forth.
yeah, right. But you have a toolbox, and the toolbox is inadequate to deal with the project in front of you.
Then deal with it some other way
Yeah,
of putting new tools in that box.
yeah, well,
Uh,
there's a flip side of that, is that it shows you what the inadequacies are.
Okay, whatever. I
Yeah,
say in principle, I
yeah,
don't think that's a road to go down. And I think there are other things such as variances or workarounds, such that it is not going to be crippling, but it might have blowback in the future.
yeah, yeah, we certainly don't have all the answers. I know that.
Oh,
Appreciate
we agree then.
we
Thank you.
appreciate the thoughts. Okay, so back to the planning commission members. I guess we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a
Yeah.
motion to
Which
adjourn.
and a second. Okay, now we're being pretty official. Okay, well, thanks everybody.
Thanks,
See you in a
Bill.
month.
See you, Charlie.
Just 2 weeks.
Oh, in 2 weeks, right.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get the DRB now is confusing me.
Yeah, you're going to be really confused in a little while.
Wednesday, Monday.
Yeah, you're beginning to sound like a Mamas and Papas song.
All
Okay,
right.
see
In
ya.
a couple weeks.
See you later.
Yep.